Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We are your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
Today we are joined by our very esteemed guest, Wes. How you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Eric,
Are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not doing well. That was total bullshit. It's been a shitty week. I don't want to get into it, but there's the honesty tip. Fuck you, Eric. Where are you from, Wes?
Odenton, Maryland.
Odenton, Maryland. All right. And when were you first introduced to recovery?
Man, I was first introduced to recovery, I guess it was like 2009. Mm-hmm. It's probably about 22 years old, and my parents had
an intervention.
They had an intervention.
Yes.
An impromptu intervention.
Yes.
They kind of just showed up at my house one day, you know. They're like, we know you're doing something, but we don't know what the hell it is.
But you need to stop.
Yeah, but I'm like wearing long sleeves in the middle of the summer.
Oh, of course.
It's like
fashion
90
choice.
degree, yeah.
It's a fashion choice.
And
I just like darkness.
you know, through that, like, before they actually sent me away, they were like, oh, we're going to take you to a meeting. And I was like,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
So, you know, I'd go to a meeting and
Nice.
pick up some fake sobriety.
Oh, yeah, of course. Totally clean.
Then I go back the next week and get, like, another one just to be like, look, I'm still doing it, you know?
Yeah, then you had to get the next one in the
Yeah.
line. Hey, I have 2 weeks now.
Yeah, so,
Yay.
I was doing it like I felt like they drug tested me when I showed up there, you know?
Oh, God, that would be terrible. And how long have you been clean?
Just over 8 years.
Nice. Man, you just celebrated.
Yeah, 2
Congrats.
weeks ago.
Congrats, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. Well, without further ado, pitter patter, let's get at her. It's your show, brother.
All right. Yeah, so going back to what we were talking about earlier, I guess 2009, my parents showed up. They took me to a couple meetings. It wasn't really working. You know, I couldn't control myself. I was kind of, you know, I thought I could. You know, I was still under that impression. And what ended up happening was they would take me to the hospital to, like, detox, you know. And while I was in there, you know, I was in there for a couple days. While I was in there, they called that number that they play at the end of intervention.
Oh, my God. Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, because they didn't know what to do anymore. They weren't really, like, they didn't really know the extent of it. They thought they did. But basically what got me there was that, like, I totaled 2 cars in 2 days. One was mine. Then my dad let me borrow his, and I totaled that, like, the next day. Both in the same way. Driving under the influence, smashed right into it had to be an SUV both times, and just, like, totaled both of my cars. And when I was in there, they called the people from intervention, and
That's amazing.
you know, they asked if they could film me or whatever. My parents were like, "Nah, we're not down for that." But what they did do
Damn
was
it.
they what they did do was they sent somebody up to get me, and that person came and got me. I mean, I had to agree to it. You know, I agreed to it just because, you know, I wanted to appease my parents. I knew wholeheartedly that, like, I wasn't ready to stop what I was doing, but it was like I wanted to give it a shot to make them happy, you know.
Yeah.
And he flew me down to Florida, and they got me into this, like, holistic treatment center, which was incredible.
Did you get smudged with sage when you got off the airplane?
No, dude, I wasn't really sure what was happening on the airplane because I was, like, getting sick, you know. It was like an hour and a half plane ride to Florida, to Miami, or to Fort Lauderdale, really. And, you know, it felt like it was like 8 hours, dude. Like,
Oh, I'm sure.
I was like, I was like ill, and I was like, oh man, I need to get off of here. Like, turn the plane around. And when I got there, you know, they took me to detox, and then they just drove me to the treatment center. But the treatment center was, I'd never been to Florida in my life. Never seen palm trees and lizards and shit running around everywhere.
This is age like 22, 23,
Yeah.
and you had never been to Florida.
Hell, man, I'd never been on an airplane. That was my first trip on an airplane.
What?
Excuse me, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've driven in buses to Canada for like school trips. I've never been on an airplane to Florida, which was like an hour and a half. So I rode 13 hours in buses before.
Yeah, that's like that's not even like an extraordinary plane ride.
And the first time I did it, I was like sick as shit and coming off.
That
dope.
fucking blows.
Yeah.
Wait, so you never went to fucking Disney World?
No, man. Still never been.
What?
Well,
I have a kid now.
You have a kid now, so now you have an
excuse.
excuse. Yes. Oh,
Gotta
Disney
make it
World's
happen
amazing.
eventually, even though I don't think I'll appreciate it as much now. As I
Oh,
will.
you will.
You will, yeah.
You will. Hell yeah, you will. Anyway, we digress.
But, you know, I don't know if anybody knows or if you guys know specifically like what holistic is, but it's basically like it's like a mind, body, and spiritual approach to recovery. They took us to meetings, but, you know, on the side, they also took us to like yoga and they took us to church on Sundays and they took us to the beach and they got us acupuncture and hot stone massages and that kind of shit.
That's awesome.
You know, it was really like a high dollar kind of place. Some place that I certainly could never afford by myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I came back. Well, first of all, I didn't come back when I was supposed to come back. It was a co-ed place, and I had, like, met some other lady down there. And
Of course.
I stayed a couple extra days. And then I came back.
Wait,
And,
was the lady in the program?
she was in the treatment center with us. She was like, we had like, it was like apartment buildings. They were just like single-story apartments.
Okay.
So like, it went like this. It was like boy house, girl house, boy house, girl house. So there's like 4 guys here, 4 girls here, and it just like went like that the whole way around the community.
That seems like a great idea. Great plan.
And so, you know, I stayed there a couple extra days, and I came back, and, you know, when I come back, I was supposed to go back to work within like a week, you know. I let work know what was going on with me, just because, you know, I know I couldn't just not show up for a month, you know.
Yeah.
I had to go talk to somebody in human resources and deal with all that shit.
Yeah.
And when I came back, they did like a phone screening and they let me know I'd be subject to like drug tests, and I was like, all right, whatever, cool, yeah, like you can start back on Monday. And the day that I went to start back, I went downtown and, you know, I went to get high and I overdosed in my car. And it never, how do I say this? It didn't really occur to me at the time, like how serious of a thing it was, because like they hit me with like the Narcan. And when I woke up, you know, there was just cops and EMTs, and I was in the middle of the street. And I was like, shit, like I gotta go to work, you know? And, you know, the cop was like, no, you need to go to the hospital. And I was like, well, do I really have to? And he was like, well, you can go with them or you can come with me. And I was like, all right, to the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I
wonder if anybody ever chooses jail. They're like, yeah, I'll go to jail. Let's do this.
I think later on, had that happened to me, I would have probably chosen jail, because it got to the point where it was so bad that I was like, yeah, 3 meals and like a place to sleep. Like, you know.
Good old 3 hots and a cot.
Yeah. Like, how long you gonna give me?
And jail food sucks.
I would have taken it.
Yeah.
But, you know, so like I overdosed, and like this is how sick my thinking was that I got to the hospital. You know, my family shows up. They're crying. They're, you know, how could you do this again?
Yeah.
You know, all that. You know, they don't understand it. And the whole time, all I'm thinking about is like, I got to get out of here and get down, and meet him again in case he runs out of that shit that knocked me out before.
Yeah.
It's like that was my thinking. You know, it wasn't just my thinking on that occurrence. That was my thinking on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
Like if it was something that could put me out like that, if it was something that could do that much harm to me, like how can it be bad?
Yeah.
You know, and I look back now and I can laugh at myself, but at the time it was like, this was a very real way of thinking for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, my parents had taken me back in once I got back from treatment, and, you know, once that happened, that was all over. You know, they begged me to go back again, and then, like, what happened was, like, I just started to put this distance between them and myself. Mostly, I think, because, like, I was ashamed, and, you know, part of it was, like, I didn't want to be bothered. You know, I wanted to be able to, like, my whole thing was like, how dare you judge the way I live my life? And, you know,
Oh,
like a lot
yeah.
of times it was like, well, this is your fault, you know, and, you know, all the shit that we say, well, not we, I'm not going to say what everybody else says, but, you know, like that was me. Like, this, like, this is your fault, you know, because, like, you guys got divorced when I was a kid, and,
Ooh.
you know, I was raised in separate households, and, you know, for a while, like, my sister lived here, and I lived here, and, you know, like, and, you know, really what it all came down to was, like, just my not feeling accepted. Like, it wasn't, it you know, my parents did the best that they could, you know. I still have a very good relationship with both of my parents. Oh, I have a restored relationship with my dad, and I have a really good relationship with my mom. But, you know, they begged me to go back to treatment. And, you know, it took me a couple more years of running. And, you know, by the time it was done, like, by the time I was done running, I was unemployable. You know, I'd lost the last few jobs that I had. The last job that I had gave me an ultimatum. They were like, you know, and this was a serving job. It wasn't like, you know, I wasn't like some IT professional with a college degree.
Yeah.
Like, but they were like, you can go take a drug test and you can still work here, or we're going to have to let you go. And I was like, all right, well, I already knew the results of the drug test. So
Yeah.
might as well just go. And then, you know, I found it very hard to get employed after that, you know, and I don't think that people were calling and, like, checking up on my resume or anything, but, like, I had this look to me that, like,
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
you know, so what had happened
What had happened was...
was, you know, after that, it took me a few months, and it took me through all the cold months. You know, I got clean in February, but there was a, like, blizzard in January of 2011.
Yep.
And, you know, I remember one night I stayed at somebody's house. They let me, like, sleep on the couch. And then, like, one night I slept outside, and there's this little school out across from where you live.
Oh, that school?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
There's a little outdoor classroom in the back that's got, like, a stage. It's not covered or anything, but it was, like, a firm place to, like, sleep. You know, and I slept there, and then I slept behind a Subway sandwich shop on Route 1.
Was it the same Subway that's right there?
Yeah.
I go to that Subway all the time.
Yeah.
Nice.
And, you know, I was miserable, and I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. You know, somehow through all of this, I maintained a relationship with a female. That's all I had left at the end. And, you know, thank God, like, she was an addict too, and, you know, she's currently not with us anymore. You know, she actually passed away last year. But she's the person that ended up taking me to the hospital again for the last time to detox. And, you know, it sucks to, like, remember all these things that, like, all these moments that I had with her. And, you know, even years later, like, when we reconnected, like, she was still struggling, and I was trying to help her. And, you know, she lived in Massachusetts, and I lived here, so, you know, I didn't see her, but, you know, we talked through text and through phone calls, and she would always say, like, I'm struggling, and like, I don't know how to stop. And, you know, I was trying to do the best that I could from where I was. And, you know, I found out through Google, you know, because I hadn't heard back from her, that I Googled her name, and then her obituary popped up. And, you know, I've seen a lot of people pass away around here, and that was something that, like, really, really affected me.
Yeah.
You know? That's something that really hurt, because, like, even though, you know, like, that boyfriend girlfriend thing wasn't there anymore, like, it was still somebody that I cared about, and it was still somebody that, like, I felt like I owed to, you know. Part of my being clean was that, like, this person was, you know, the person that helped me get to where I was. And, you know, but after that, you know, I went to a far cry from Miami. I went to, like, a state-funded facility. And, you know, they locked you in, boys on one side, girls on the other. Don't look at each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that's where I got clean at. You know, by the time I got there, I didn't have any more clothes. Like, I've said this before when I shared. It's like, I checked in there wearing a size 9 New Balances, and I wore an 11. You know, and all I had was like a hoodie and a t-shirt and the jeans that I was wearing. Like I didn't have anything else to my name anymore. And, you know, I was just broken. And I was just so like I remember feeling the feeling of relief I had when I got there. Like it felt different to me inside.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't know that it was something that was going to stick with me. And you know, sometimes I still struggle, and not to say that like I'm going to go use, but like I still can get down on myself. I still have like some depression issues or whatever. But when I got there, like it was just something like I was like overcome, and I was like. Okay, well, I just felt like the fight was over, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, through being there, I got out and, you know, I knew I didn't have anywhere else to go. So I just followed the suggestions of what people were giving me while I was in there. Like, it was something, like, for the first time, I'd actually went somewhere and listened to somebody else, like, what somebody else saying, knowing that I wasn't the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Because before that, you know, like, I was somewhat intellectual, like, and there's no way you couldn't tell me that, like, I wasn't the smartest motherfucker around. You know?
Yep.
In any, like, group that I was in, like, I was always right and they were always wrong. You know, and I can still be like that sometimes, but, you know, I've gotten a lot better with it.
Yeah.
And, but like from there, you know, like I followed the suggestions, like I said, and I followed a treatment plan that somebody else had given me. You know, I don't know how people could do this on their own, you know, but somebody else like had been through this before and they helped me and they said like, this is what I did.
Yep.
You know, I got out of here and I went to a halfway house and I was like, okay, cool. You know, so I went to a halfway house. You know, through there are people that work there. They're like, you got to get a job. You got to pay rent. You know, you got to wake up at this time. This is when we eat. You have to be home because we have meetings every night at this time. And, you know, it was the beginning stages of me like learning how to be an adult. And, you know, when I got there, I didn't have a car. I certainly didn't have a job still. You know, and it taught me a lot about building my own character back up again because, like, where this place was located, it was, like, on top of a hill, and, like, the closest bus stop was, like, a mile down the road. So you walk down the hill a mile, you got on the bus, I went to look for jobs, and then, you know, when you get back, you have to walk a mile back up the hill.
Yep.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and, you know, I bitched about it a lot. I complained. But, you know, looking back at it now, like I realize, you know, it's like taught me some discipline. It's taught me, it's given me a little more character, and it's, you know, it's something that I needed at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I finally got a job and was doing that every day, basically. And then when it came time, like right before I celebrated my first year, I'd saved up some money and I bought a car. No, I didn't save up a bunch of money. I saved up $500 and I got a car.
Got a hoopty.
Yeah, my mom helped me. Her husband at the time was a mechanic, and dude, I had this '93 Mustang, and I thought it was so cool. It was a 4-cylinder Mustang, not even a GT, you know. And it had like a broken sunroof and like crank windows, and
Oh, yeah.
the air conditioning didn't work.
Dude.
But I was like so proud of that thing.
Did it have
man.
a tape deck?
No, I changed that out. Well, it did
Nice.
originally. But
Nice.
then I put in one of those nice Sony Explode head units.
Ooh.
That were so cool at the time. I think I got it from like Radio Shack.
Yep. Which doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, they're right next to Blockbuster. And, you know, like, I was so proud of that car, man. Like, and I started, like, through that, you know, like, through that and through listening to other people, like, you know, I started just, like, not that I didn't give back before, but, like, that was, like, a vessel for me to, like, go pick up other people, take them to meetings, and you know, kind of help people. And, like, I share this, not to, like, toot my own horn, but, like, it's something that meant to me, and it's, like, an interaction that I had with a friend of mine that, you know, still resonates with me. And, you know, I'd always pick this guy up from work, and you guys both know him, but...
Who is it?
Jack.
Oh, okay.
You know, we live together.
Yeah.
He shot dope for 30 years.
You won't get him on here.
But, you know, I would pick him up from work, and, you know, some nights, and I know how it is, like, some nights his pride would get the better of him, and he wouldn't call, and he'd end up walking home, and, you know, it's a long walk. And be like, dude, like, just call me. Like, I'm a couple miles down the road.
Wasn't
like,
he working at, like, P.F. Chang's?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I
my God.
I got him a job there when I was working there.
And he would walk all the way back.
That's a really
Jesus
far walk.
Christ.
Yes, like walking down, like, the highway, you know?
That's a lot of fucking pride.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And, you know, he'd be like, I'd go to pick him up sometimes. And, like, I remember one time, you know, back then, early recovery, like, even now, like, I still don't have that much money, but, you know, it was even less then.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, he'd be like, oh, let me give you, like, $5-10 for gas. And I'm like, no, man, like, don't worry about it. And this is where it resonates with me, is because somebody did it to me. Mm-hmm. And it was like, don't worry about the money, man. Like, when it comes your time and you get your car, like, do it for the next person.
Yep.
And, like, that's all I wanted in return. And, you know,
Yep.
that was, like, one of the first times that I can remember myself not having, like, a selfish thought. Like,
Yeah.
you know, not that I'm sure it happened before. But it was like, wow, I was like, did I say that? You know, and through that, you know, like, he's one of my best, like, now he's the godfather to my son. You
Nice.
know, like, we built strong relationships in this program. And, you know, I have people now that, like, I mean, you guys know him, but, like, to anybody that's listening that doesn't know him, like, I'm a 33-year-old white suburban man raised in, like, middle-class America, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, he is an African-American man in his 50s that was raised in the inner city. Like, our stories do not parallel in the slightest bit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, not very much.
You know, and, you know, but he's one of my best friends, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably my best friend now. And, you know, and it's not just him. Like, I have relationships with people in here that, like, I would never expect to be friends with. And, you know, through all walks of life, people that do people in different career fields, people that help me kind of get to where I want to be, not in the professional field, but, like, people that, you know, help me get to where I want to be as a person. You know, by taking the suggestions of getting a sponsor, working steps, and, you know, it's simple. And I can complicate it.
Oh, yeah.
I can complicate it very easily. You know, and it's part of the reason, I guess, the cliches are around, the whole, like, keep it simple. And, like, I'll be the first person to tell you, like, I get so tired of hearing, like, the cliches.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But they're around for a reason. And it's because of, you know, it's because there's truth to them.
It sucks when you find that truth, though.
Yeah.
Because, like, before you, like, understand it, like for me, like, especially in, like, early recovery, like, I would hear all the cliches, and they would just sound like fucking jargon that people are just spitting at you, and you're like, yeah, whatever. And then the one day comes when it applies, and you're like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You're like, damn it, I didn't want that to be true. I wanted it to be just a cliche that I could, like, just be like, no, it's just bullshit. But no, 100% true.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, there's truth to them, and you know, there's somebody. If you know, another thing that I learned how to do here was, like, share where I'm at with people, and, you know, that tends to be when I hear them the most.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, but, you know, like, I need somebody's perspective on them. I need somebody, like, I need a different view on the things that I'm looking at, and that's what I get through people in here. You know, I'm not gonna say that.
Oh, wow. You smashed the microphone.
Active hands, I'm sorry.
Nice.
I'm not going to say that everybody has my best interest in mind, you know, but the people that I keep close, like, I'm 100% certain that they do. And, you know, those people are the people that, like, I talk to when I need to, or, you know, if I need to share in an open meeting, like, I get a lot out of people that just approach me after, you know, being like, because for me, it's still one of the most uncomfortable things that I can do is, like, stand up there and talk to a room full of people about myself. which is weird because like I've been in the restaurant industry for years, and I can easily walk up to any table and talk about like a hamburger that we have.
Yeah.
But when I gotta like talk about like real shit that like I really believe in and stuff about me, like it's harder, you know, and it's something that like I never really get that comfortable with. But the payoff to me is A, I feel better, and 2, like 9 times out of 10, like somebody comes up to me after the meeting and they're like, man, I've been there, like, or I'm going through that same thing, and like I love that about it. And, you know, like get a hug or a handshake or whatever you're into. You know, being around here has like helped me to develop those kind of relationships, and it's helped me to sculpt me into the man that I am today. And you know, like, you know, I don't always do it perfect. I'm not always content with where I'm at. I fuck up. Like, sometimes I fuck up big. And you know, but I learn from my mistakes, and I try not to do the same thing again. You know, but through this process, you know, like after I was talking about, you know, I eventually got to the place where I moved in to my own place, and that happened through work. You know, through work I'd worked my way up into a management position. I had never lived on my own before, and they offered me a chance to move to New Jersey. Lovely New Jersey.
We love our listeners in New Jersey.
Yeah, we do. I love New Jersey. Woodbridge Township. You know, but that was the first time I ever lived at a place on my own. And, you know, like I went up there new. I went up there fresh. Like I didn't know anybody in recovery. Like I had to find meetings, and I had to be like new all over again. And it was hard. And then like it was really hard to like go home and not have anybody that like in recovery that I could be like, man, like, and, like, you know, I'd go home to silence, and all I had was the TV, and like, you know, it got to a point there, like after the honeymoon phase of living somewhere else, you know, like 3-4 months maybe, where it was like, you know, it got to like a dark kind of place because like I had met people up there, and there's people that I could, you know, easily probably call, but I didn't feel comfortable, you know? Like, I didn't feel comfortable. All the relationships that I developed were here. And, you know, I had to learn to overcome that. And there, you know, there ended up being, like, a couple people that I confide in. And then, like, there's a couple people that, like, I still talk to this day. Like, I was texting with a friend of mine, Nicole, like, from New Jersey. And she's since moved to North Carolina, like, when I was on my way here. And, you know, we occasionally just check in with each other and see how each other's doing, you know? And that's really cool to me. You know, she had a friend move from North Carolina up to here. And she was like, oh, do you know where this place is? And I was like, yeah, I literally live like 5 minutes from there. And, you know, just coincidentally, you know? And I was like, she was like, can I give her your number? And I was like, yeah, give her my number. Like, that's fine. And, you know, I ended up taking her to a couple meetings and got her introduced to her sponsor. And, you know, like, I love being able to do that kind of shit. And I wouldn't, you know, like, I wouldn't be able to be, like, of service, you know, just on my own. You know, I need other people to kind of guide me and to help me in. And, you know, also through this program, you know, I've learned about relationships, not like just intimate relationships. You know, I've learned about that too. You know, that's where I probably learned most of my character defects in. But like, you know, more importantly, like a relationship with myself. You know, I do suffer from depression. You know, I do see somebody about it. You know, I've gotten myself into like some really dark places, and I've needed somebody to help me get out. And sometimes, you know, talking just wasn't enough for me. And, you know, but where I'm at now is like, you know, I had a son a little over a year ago, and, you know, it's kind of changed everything for me. Like, I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I could have ever had this kid while I was using. Like, there's no way I could have devoted the attention to him that he needed, or that there's no way I could have been a good father. You know, like some days, like even now, like I'm still like I should be able to do more, or I should do more. And you know, it's like it's a love that I've never experienced for any other person, like even like my girlfriend or whatever, like you know, like, sorry if you're listening. But, you know, like, once that happened, like, everybody would always tell me, like, you know, it's going to change your life and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, but, like, it's something that, like, I never understood until it happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I was sitting there this morning because, like, I was off work today and he was still sleeping. And I was just, like, excited for him to get up, man. I was like, what are we going to do? And I know what we're going to do. We're going to do the same shit because he's a year old and he just runs around and makes messes. Yeah. But, like, it's so fun to me, man. Like, it's so fun. And then, like, to be able to, like, take him to lunch, you know, like, do that kind of stuff with him and just hang out. You know? You know, as I've stayed clean, you know, I've acquired more things, more responsibilities. Obviously, a kid, you know, through working, you know, like, I've worked myself up into higher positions, and I've recently taken a position within a completely different field that I've never worked in before, just to spend more time with my family, really. And, you know, I chased money for a little while, and I started to realize now that it's not about that.
Nope.
You know, it doesn't make me happy. Like, it makes me happy to be able to, like, buy shit that I want sometimes, a lot of times, but, like, it's a very temporary happiness.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, to be able to, like, have weekends off now is, like, you know, you work in the restaurants, and I've worked in restaurants where it's, like, Saturday and Sunday, like, you're never getting off Saturday and Sunday. Like, it's, it's, like, mandatory.
Yeah,
and, you know, now
sucks.
to be off on weekends, I'm like, I don't even, like, my whole entire adult life, like, this has never been a thing for me. You know, but, like, I get to be off with, like, the kids and you know, do different shit that, like, I've never been able to do. And,
like Disney World.
yeah, eventually, it's coming.
Yes.
Starting with this new company, I get paid vacation now. Like,
oh, shit.
You know, but I'm continuing to learn about myself. You know, that's the beauty of this whole thing for me, and I hope I never stop. If I do stop, like, please check on me.
Yeah.
Or if I stop showing up, like, you know, and that's been a thing. Like, there was times when I went to a lot less meetings, and, you know, when I moved back from New Jersey, like, I had, like, a void from leaving there, and I didn't have a sponsor when I got back to here, and, you know, I kind of just, like, skipped out on some months of recovery.
Yeah.
You know, didn't use, but I didn't do anything to better myself. And, you know, I got to a point where it was just, like, the emotional pain. It was like I went to a meeting one night and I, like, cried. And I was like, oh, like, this is happening, this is happening. And, you know, people approached me after it. And, you know, I don't want to get to that point again. Like, I don't want to get to that point where it's like I feel like I got it. You know? And, you know, luckily, like, I haven't felt that way in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, it's very real, you know, and you know, sometimes it's harder. It feels a lot harder now than it did with, like, 1 year. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Because of all the responsibilities and because of all the extra shit.
Yep.
But, like, I love it, man. Like, I love it. Like, even when I get down, like, my thought's not about using. Like, I've had some, like, off the wall, like, dark ass thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not about, like, I'm gonna go get high. You know? Been down that road. I know where that leads me, and, you know, it's always an option, but I want to say it's not an option for me. And now I'm here. Is that long enough for you guys?
Is that long enough?
Yeah. Yes, that is more than long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Did I ramble?
No.
No.
No, not at all. Not at all.
All right. We got some questions. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Go
cool. So,
It's so weird that Eric doesn't even face us. Like me and Wes are sitting here like making eye contact every once in a while, and Eric's just completely turned towards the screen.
Great and powerful eyes.
This is an auditory medium, so it's not really.
There are humans in the room with you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Fuck you, Eric.
My question is that you moved to New Jersey. I feel like you moved around.
I totally forgot about that.
I feel like you moved around the same time where I moved to Chicago. I feel like you were moving.
What year was
that?
You left in 2015.
2014, yeah.
I left in 2014.
I was 2014 too. I came back in 2015.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because you came back right when.
My life was a mess that year. It was not good.
Well, so essentially, like, you succeeded where I failed, right? You were able to transplant and, stay clean, but also go to meetings. I think I went to, I don't know, maybe like 5 to 10 meetings. And I was like, I don't like Chicago meetings. I was like, why did they give out key tags in the middle of the meeting?
And we literally just had a Chicago speaker on.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. But, so why, like, what allowed you to continue to stay connected with the fellowship, and what motivated you to go to meetings? Like, because I don't know what Jersey meetings are like. They're probably different in a way that we don't feel comfortable with. Like, how did you get past that?
They're very different. Every meeting there is 90 minutes. Some are longer.
I can't.
They don't do like anniversary meetings really. They kind of just do like you pick up a key tag and you say, and I don't know if it's like that in every county, but like Middlesex County where I was at, that's how it was. And you just kind of say a little bit about how you got to where you are. But how I hung on to it was just basically using like the fundamentals that I was given when I started here. Like I found a couple people that I latched onto. Mm-hmm. And, I forced myself to like overcome some fears that I have, because I sometimes get like a little social anxiety. Like I don't like to be around a bunch of people, especially not a bunch of new people that like I don't know. And like that was part of the hardest part for me, was like going to new meetings there and showing up and raising my hand and being like, I'm new to this area and I need help, and continuing to do that, because like part of the problem that I did face when I was there was like by the time you got there, I think I had like 3 years or 4 years clean, and people would come up to you after the meeting and be like, oh, like you're new, like that's awesome.
That sucks.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, well, I've been clean for like 3 years, 4 years, whatever. And they'd be like, oh, well, you're good. And like, no, like,
yeah, no, that's
like,
not how this works.
like that doesn't mean that I'm good. So like I definitely had struggles with it, but what helped me was like those people, like I'm telling you now, that I still talk to, like being able to like latch onto those people, and kind of having like a somewhat solid foundation when I went up there. When I went up there, it's like not like my friends from here disappeared. Like I still kept in contact with a lot of people. A couple people came up to visit me, but I had to just push myself to like get over some of those fears of like walking into meetings and saying like I'm new, because even now, like I'm not one of those people that shares many meetings, like if something's really going on with me and like my ass is really on fire, like I'll say something. But people that are closest to me kind of know like what it is that I'm going through on a regular basis, and that's because I talk to them on a regular basis.
Nice.
Cool.
All right. Let me go to my little. I text the questions to myself, so give me a second. Okay.
Just text them to me, and I'll just read them off my phone.
That's probably genius.
I'll just answer it without you asking the question, and then
why am I here?
It'll be like Jeopardy.
Then it would be like, that's kind of cool. We could do a recovery Jeopardy episode. That'd be cool. Shut up, Eric. I love you, by the way. I said fuck you, and I apologize for that. Okay, how, like you said, like something you said that I 100% related to was like feeling like you're the smartest person in the room, and just having an arrogance or an ego that, at least mine, was like for the most part, completely unwarranted. Like, yes, I'm an intelligent guy. I can speak well, blah, blah, blah. But I would be like, oh, I know more than you. I have no clean time. You have several years, but fuck you. I'm not going to listen to you. So how difficult was it to become teachable and then remain teachable in recovery?
I don't know that I can say how hard it was to become teachable. I think it's just kind of something that happened. But when I got here, I can tell you that I certainly was not. You know, like, I remember being in the halfway house, and I was just somebody that just, like, talked, like, shit all day long. You know, like, I, was finally clean for, like, 30 days, and I fucking knew everything. And, there's a guy basically that worked there. I was like, will you shut the fuck up? And it hurt my feelings. Like, I remember that. Like, I went to my room, like, shut the door. Like a kid would throw a temper tantrum, you know? But it's just kind of something that happened to me, like, through continuing to do what we do. And,
just that accidental recovery.
Yeah, like, just by listening to other people. Like, I think that's how I got to remain teachable. And I guess that takes, like, a certain level of teachability in its own. But, like, I was broken enough to listen to some people. There was certainly meetings when I first got here, a lot of meetings where I would sit back and I would judge somebody that was sharing or whatever. And, I really, like, make a conscious effort to not do that now. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all been there where it's like, Jesus, this motherfucker again. But, remaining teachable is, like, a big part of my development, like, utilizing a sponsor is one of the ways that, like, I've remained teachable. Being able to call somebody, like, my first sponsor, I think, kind of steered me in that direction, because I would call them,
Do we know who your sponsor was?
Probably. I don't want to say his name right now, though. I'll tell you guys later.
Fair enough.
But, I would call him and I would be like, I'm feeling this way, or I wouldn't even really know how I'm feeling. I'd be like, but, how do you feel about whatever was going on with me? And he'd be like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I feel. He's like, how do you feel about it? And it kind of helped me to, like, process, like, my own thoughts and my own feelings, because, like, I wasn't taking the word of somebody else as how I should feel about a situation, because, like, I was so influential at the time, where it was like, if you told me, like, this is how I should feel, like, and it sounded good, like, you made it presentable to me, I was like, that's valid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of forced me to think on my own. And, even though that guy's not my sponsor anymore and he's going through whatever he's going through, but, like, I am forever grateful for that. Like, that I didn't have somebody that was just, like, kind of, like, micromanage my feelings for me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
His thing was, like, if you jump off of a 3rd-story balcony, you tell me it hurts, he's like, I'm going to tell you, you probably shouldn't do it again. And, the simplicity of it, the way that he put it, like, that's kind of what got me to where, I am now. And it's also a tactic that I've used on men that I've sponsored as well, where it's been like, because, like, that's the only way that I know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's the only way that's worked for me.
Nice. What you got, Eric?
How do you treat your depression?
Oh, wow, that was just very direct.
I take medication for it. I see a therapist, and now I only see him, like, once every few months or so. When I came in here, I was on depression medication, and I, without advice from a doctor, just, like, took myself off of it.
Ooh.
And, I was really good for a while, and I was like, oh, well, that was just because I was using, And I had, like, convinced myself of that. And then,
were you taking depression meds while you were using?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no. not. I had it
On
was
and
like on
off.
and off.
Yeah.
And then when I finally checked into treatment, like the doctor on site at the treatment like had put me back on them. So like I took them, and then like I had taken them when I got into the halfway house, and then once that prescription ran out, I was like, all right, I'll try this out. And I'd gone through phases, I think, where like I'd been depressed, and wasn't really. It was more like a fleeting depression. And I was like, okay, well, like it obviously must have been something that was just related to my using. And then through, I think, requiring some of those responsibilities and all those things.
Sounds like a fucking whale. Is there a whale outside?
No, I think that's a truck.
Jesus. Sorry.
I think that like the pressure got in the better of me. And I just got into like a really, really dark place, and like I was having like thoughts of suicide, and I didn't really want to like hurt myself, but like I wanted something to happen to me. Like I was okay, like I was accepting of death.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like I'm gonna go do this, like but I was like,
If an 18-wheeler hits me, I'm okay with that.
like if I just let go of the steering wheel, like see what happens, and obviously like I didn't do it. Like I'm kind of a pussy when it comes to like being hurt. Like I don't like to be hit and shit. I always like wanted to be like a UFC fighter, and I was like, but they hit back.
Yeah, can I just punch somebody and just them take it?
But
that's a different sport.
But yeah, I mean now it's like once it got back to me, like it was almost paralyzing, man. It was hard to go to work. It was hard to like function within a relationship. It was hard to be a dad. And a couple people like knew my situation, and they're like, maybe you should go talk to somebody again. That helped you before. My parents and whatnot, and I did, and I'm kind of like I'm really glad that I did now, because like it wasn't just something that was fleeting. Like it crippled me for like months, and out of nowhere, it was like everything. Like things couldn't have been more good in my life. Like I just bought a house, and I had my kid. And, I had this job. I was making more money than I ever was, and it was just like boom, like weight of the world on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And like it led to me doing some stupid shit, and led to me
Jesus, fucking
making,
whales, dude.
Yeah, some regrettable decisions, and that's kind of how I treat it now. Is I see somebody, and I take what we worked through some things where it was like I was on one thing and that wasn't working, and got onto another thing. Found just what works for me.
That's awesome.
All right. How has your addiction, like addictive behaviors, how have they manifested in recovery?
Oh man, it's so many ways. I think it really depends, like different eras of my life. Spending was always a big thing for me especially early on in recovery, where it was like, I wanted to look good at meetings. I was so used to looking like a piece of shit for so long that it was like, let me go buy these polo shirts and like shit that like I would never wear now. Like you guys know me. I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of guy, like all the time.
Yep.
But like then it was like, I needed these shoes and I needed the shirt to match it. And like collared shirts, yeah. And I was just like, any money that I was getting that I wasn't paying for rent, it was like, well, let me do this. And then like,
is it only me, or I don't think polo shirts look. That's not like looking good to me. I just think you look kind of like a tool bag.
Yeah, and hair gel and.
Oh god.
I was going for that rookie of the year look, like that first year recovery, where it was like I wanted to be like the freshest motherfucker in the room, and this is part of like developing my identity. It was like I didn't know who I was. Food has always been a big one for me. I've gone through like a lot of ups and downs you know, like one joke that I always tell, like, or not always tell, but like sometimes I'll like start a meeting. I don't know, start a meeting, so I'll just say something like, "I got clean 50 pounds ago," and you know, just as like an icebreaker for me. But like it's true. Like I've been up, I've been down. You know, like right now I'm in an upstage, and you know, I get to a point where it's like I'm tired of being like this, and then I'll work myself back down. But it's like I have trouble finding like that medium, and like that's an addictive behavior to me. Like, I know that I shouldn't eat McDonald's, and you know I love McDonald's.
Yeah.
But like I know I shouldn't do it, but like I'll go anyway. And
I can't do it, dude.
you know, it's gotten to me. It's affected me, like in my relationships. You know, like. I had been unfaithful. You know, I'd never done that in my life. And, you know, it's not something that I talk to a lot of people about. A lot of people know about it now, but, you know, like...
Certainly a lot more after this podcast.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But, like, you know, I within my relationship, rung a bell that you can't unring. And, you know, I felt guilty about it. I really did. And you know, I think that also aided in the depression that I was having.
Yeah.
You know, she knows about it, and for some reason she still wants to be with me. I like to think it's because of, like, the person that I am. Like, these bad decisions that I make are not the person that I am.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're bad. There's poor decision making. And,
yeah.
Like, I have a history of that.
Oh yeah.
But you know, like that goes back to doing something and like learning from it. You know, like I knew it was wrong at the time, but I didn't know how it was going to make me feel.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how it was going to affect like other people in my life. You know, I got into that self-centered mode where it was like.
And that's like 100% addictive
like
behavior.
I'm only hurting me. And like, that's never the case. Like in my drug use, I was like, I'm only hurting me. And it was never the case, man.
Yeah.
Like, I hurt, like, I think I hurt more people other than I was hurting myself. Because like, in using, like, I had feelings, but I was a lot more void of them than I am now.
Yeah.
Like now I like really feel shit.
Oh yeah.
So like that guilt.
Oh, I feel
and
all the
remorse that like, you know, it's the same that I get from like overeating or like being unfaithful or like shopping or like, you know, I'll still go on and like buy some dumb shit that I don't need. Like I bought an Xbox. I don't need an Xbox, but like I went out and bought it when I didn't have a job.
Nice.
Are you sure you didn't need the Xbox though?
I use it a lot, but it wasn't a necessity.
It was an impulse buy.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, that's using behavior.
Now that you are a dad, how have you played like the mental game of like, what if my son is an addict?
Yeah.
Like if it is a genetic thing.
Yeah, I have. And I mean, to be honest, like on a regular basis, that's like one of the biggest fears that I have of being a dad.
Yep.
And it's not because like I fear him being an addict. It's like I don't want him to feel like I felt. I don't want him to feel unloved or like he has to turn to something else to like feel acceptance.
Yep.
You know, like even if it's not drugs, like if he feels like he has to turn, like just that feeling of like worthlessness.
Yep.
Like I don't want him to ever feel that. Like I don't want him to feel anything but loved. And I know that's hard, you know, like he's going to go to school and kids are mean.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think that's where like a big part of my insecurities came from was like I was always overweight as a kid. And, you know, throughout elementary school, you know, like some girl called me Porky once and that shit stuck for like the rest of elementary school, you know, like, and it was like, you know, I don't want that kind of shit to happen to him.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's gonna. That's what's crazy.
It's gonna
fucking happen.
like
shitty shit's gonna happen to him.
And like what I want to, you know, what I want to do, and I think what I, you know, maybe my parents didn't necessarily know how to do because like they weren't in like a program like this or anything, was like be able to teach them that like it's okay to feel and like a coping mechanism, like a healthy coping mechanism, not something like, you know, like for me, like I was just like shut down, and then, you know, my coping mechanism came to be, I was going to be funnier than you. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, you know, I was very quick-witted. I still like am to an extent. Like I'm kind of a smartass. But you know, if like you wanted to make fun of me, like I was gonna say something back to you and try and make it sting 10 times more.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, like I don't want him to have to live like that. Like that's a big fear of mine.
Man, you hit the nail on the head with that. 100%. Yeah, I used to just think that all the time. I was like, my venom's just gonna be more potent than yours. Period. Like, like I'm gonna hurt you worse than you hurt me, no matter what.
It's like to a point where it's like, you know, as I got older, like I was, you know, you start to observe things. Like when somebody's parents like drop them off, like you're starting to like you're taking notes on their mom and dad.
Yep.
And being like,
oh yeah,
you know,
yep.
what kind of car they drive.
You're just trying to stockpile that ammunition, man.
And you know, like it. It got some laughs, sure.
Yeah.
But, like, was it the most healthy way to like deal with something? Like, no. Like,
yeah.
You know, you're just fighting fire with fire, and.
Damn. I gotta call my sponsor. All right, Eric, you're up. What you got?
I'm tapped, dude.
You're tapped?
I'm tapped.
That's bullshit.
I'm tapped.
No, I'm not. Okay. Have you worked all 12 steps?
Yeah, twice. I'm on my third go around.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm ready to go over my 7th step with my sponsor. Maybe meeting up with them tomorrow. It's kind of hard between our works and life schedules to get together sometimes. But yeah, I'm getting ready to go over 7 again.
Nice. Do you want to phrase the question, Eric, or should I?
No, I want to hear you butcher it. Go ahead.
Butcher it, my ass. So the way Eric approaches this question is dark and horrible, but I just do it simply. What is your favorite step? You have to pick one. You can't say, oh, they're all 12. Like, no. You have to pick one.
2.
2?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why 2?
Because 2 to me is like the beginning of the development of faith. You know, when I got here, like I wasn't ready for 3, you know, because it said God.
Yeah.
You know, 2 kind of worked me into that. And, you know, I was very eerie of the whole religious thing. Like I thought like just seeing God like made me think like this was like some sort of Christian or Catholic thing, and like that really wasn't what it was about. And through working 2, like 1 was like the obvious one for me. Yeah, you know, like
agreed.
I'm here, like obviously, like,
my life is clearly fucked.
Like I'm hanging out with you, motherfuckers, in a gym.
Yeah, or in a church fucking basement on a Friday night. Like.
And you know. 2 is I love how like simple and concise the reading is in it, and then it, you know, like it's about choice to me. It's like, am I making this choice to believe that there's something greater than me that can help me? Like I don't have to call it God yet, and it doesn't say that. Yeah, and you know, but like that was and still is probably my favorite step to go over. Sort of just like opening up a door to like, oh, let's see what's in here. Yeah. Anything's better than 6. Yeah. 6 and 7 were definitely tough, but they afterwards, like it's great, and like it's still an evolving thing. Like it's still something we always have to maintain. Well, the trick to 6 that I've learned is don't sit on it. Yeah. Oh yeah. The longer, like, because like I wrote on it, and I went over with my sponsor, and then I didn't start on 7 right away this time, and that was where a lot of things crept in, and that was where a lot of my struggles were happening. Like I was living, like literally living in these defects that I had just written down. I had answered all these questions about them, and I never had that experience before, and I never sat on them before. You know, it was always like on to the next one. You know, it's like I have to see to myself, like, how dedicated am I in, like, progressing in this thing. And, you know, that was a point to me where it was like I valued other things more than I valued doing my step work, and it hurt me. All right, I got one final question because it just came up. How important is just, like, brutal self-honesty in recovery
and sharing that like with another person, and then continuing that process of just rigorous honesty, like just being open and vulnerable and everything. How crucial is that to recovery?
Well, to me, the crucial thing is actually sharing that with another person, because like my honesty is not always the truth. Like the way I see myself is not the way that somebody else is going to see me. You know, and it's not to say that somebody else isn't seeing me in a better light than I am, but like I need that like feedback, like, and I only get that through being honest. Because like to me, like I can be like, oh, I'm the biggest piece of shit in the world some days.
Yeah.
And like I can bounce it off of somebody else and be like, nah, man, you just made a mistake. Like you just did this wrong. And like if I don't get that feedback, as simple as it sounds, like I will be like, I'll have blinders on and I'll be clouded by like this like overwhelming fear of like I suck.
Yeah. All right. Eric's tapped, so I guess I'm now done as well. Do you have anything you'd like to say to all the addicts and alcoholics out there struggling?
Just keep trying, man. Take the suggestions that people give you. You know, it's the only way that it's ever worked for me, and you know, it's the only way that I know how to recover. Listen to other people, bounce your ideas off other people. When you think you have a great idea, run it through the mill.
Yeah.
You know, I've only gotten as far as I am because of other people's help, and it's not just people that have been clean longer than I have. You know, I can get my help from somebody that's got a day clean or a week clean. You know, I just need other people's perspective because I can get my own way easier than they can get my way.
Love it. All right. Well, we would like to thank our guest Wes for joining us this evening. Give us a golf clap. We need a clap track. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Wes. You did a great job.
Yeah, man. That's great.
Guys. Appreciate it.
Here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. All right, everybody, keep listening, tuning in every week. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We'll be getting up on Instagram shortly. And yeah, stay safe, stay clean.